February 22nd, 2026, the mountains of Jalisco were quiet. Too quiet. Locals would later say helicopters had been flying low since before sunrise. Military convoys moved without sirens. Roads were blocked miles away from a remote property. Then came the confirmation. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, known to the world as El Mencho, was dead. For over a decade, he had been one of the most wanted men on Earth. The U.S. government placed a $10 million bounty on his head. Mexican forces launched multiple operations to capture him. And every time, he escaped. Until he didn't. But to understand why this moment mattered, you have to understand the man and the empire he built. Born in 1966 in rural Michoacan, Mexico, he grew up in poverty. One of many children in a farming family, opportunities were limited. Work was scarce. Like thousands of young men from his region, he crossed into the United States searching for income. In the 1980s and 1990s, he lived in California. Eventually, he was arrested on drug-related charges and later deported back to Mexico. That deportation became a turning point. Back home, Mexico's criminal landscape was changing. Large cartels were fighting for territory. The old alliances were breaking, and Nemesio saw something others didn't. Chaos creates opportunity. After returning to Mexico, he aligned himself with organized crime groups operating in western states. When internal splits weakened major organizations, he formed a new group that would later become Jalisco New Generation Cartel. CJNG wasn't built like older cartels. It was aggressive, highly mobile, structured like a paramilitary force. Instead of hiding in the shadows, CJNG sent clear messages. They released propaganda-style videos, displayed armored vehicles, demonstrated advanced weaponry. This wasn't just crime, it was psychological warfare. Within a few years, CJNG expanded into multiple Mexican states. Authorities described it as one of the fastest-growing criminal organizations in the country. And behind it all, El Mencho remained invisible. No interviews, rare photos, no flashy lifestyle online, just silence and control. By the mid-2010s, CJNG had established international routes. Investigations connected them to trafficking networks reaching the United States, Europe, parts of Asia. American authorities classified CJNG as a top-tier threat. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration listed El Mencho among the most wanted fugitives. A $10 million reward was announced, but capturing him proved nearly impossible. He operated through layers of protection. Safe houses rotated constantly. Communications were encrypted. Inner circles were extremely tight. He trusted very few people, and those around him understood one thing: loyalty wasn't an option. Between 2015 and 2025, Mexican authorities launched multiple operations targeting CJNG leadership. Several high-ranking members were arrested, but El Mencho, he vanished every time. Intelligence leaks were suspected. Cartel informants inside institutions were rumored. Each failed attempt strengthened his legend. In certain regions, he wasn't just feared, he was mythologized. Some locals believed he was untouchable, but behind the scenes, pressure was building. International cooperation increased. Surveillance technology improved. Financial tracking became more precise. By late 2025, analysts believed authorities were closer than ever. Early February 2026, intelligence units detected unusual movement near Tapalpa, Jalisco. Encrypted communications pointed to a high-value presence. Military planners prepared carefully. No rushed entry, no early leaks. At dawn on February 22nd, forces surrounded a remote mountainous property. Helicopters above, naval special forces below. The objective, capture. But the situation escalated. A confrontation broke out between security, forces, and armed individuals. At lacked a location. Hours later, officials confirmed El Mencho had been fatally wounded during the operation. After more than a decade on the run, it was over. News spread rapidly. Markets reacted. Security alerts were issued. Highways were temporarily blocked in some regions. Authorities increased patrols across western Mexico. Analysts debated what would happen next. History shows that when powerful criminal leaders fall, power struggles often follow. Would CJNG fragment? Would a successor emerge? Would violence increase or decrease? The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. A chapter had ended. El Mencho's story reflects something deeper. Poverty, opportunity gaps, corruption, global demand for illegal substances. Removing one leader does not erase the system. It shifts it. And experts warn that long-term stability depends on more than high-profile arrests. It requires structural change. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes built one of the most powerful criminal networks in modern Mexico. He avoided capture for years, outmaneuvered operations, became a symbol of fear, but in the end, he became another name in history. Another powerful figure whose empire did not outlive him. Crime empires may look unstoppable, but history proves otherwise. If you made it this far, you understand this wasn't just a crime story. It was about power, influence, and consequences. Subscribe for more in-depth crime documentaries. Comment below. Who do you think takes control of CJNG now? And should we make part 2 breaking down the next leader?